that you're attending the org fair that is going to be happening in the fall, making sure that you're adhering to the OSA deadlines that are going to be provided to you about renewal priority deadlines. Keeping Eagle Engage page and roster updated. So making sure if you're having any updates, you're keeping that page updated as well as your roster, and then checking your Eagle Engage page frequently. You also want to make sure that you are familiar with the practices and the policies that are included in the Student Org Handbook, as well as the Student Code of Conduct. The Student Org Handbook is going to be directly tied to the Office of Student Activities, and then the Student Code Handbook is tied directly to the university. And then also making sure that your org name is not starting with Georgia Southern, GS, GA Southern, Armstrong, Liberty, or anything in those natures. So, if for example, if you had Georgia Southern Pancake Club, you would not be able to use that name, but you can use Pancake Club at Georgia Southern. Next, we're going to talk about the completion of the renewal process. So, the completion of the renewal process is done annually and it starts during the spring semester and ends in the fall semester. So, it has already currently started and it will end in this fall semester. And so, that date is going to be August 31st, 2026. If you have chartered your organization during the spring semester, and so that will be January to March 2026, then you will not be required to renew in the April 2026 year, but you will need to make sure that you renew in the spring 2027 year. So you will be active for the fall 2026, and so you will not need to worry about anything. Just make sure that you understand what the renewal process is. If your primary student org leader or president or advisor changes during the year, and so that is the academic year as a whole, so anytime outside the renewal process, you need to make sure that you are notifying your alpha listing processor. If you are not sure who your alpha listing processor is, please make sure you take a look at the website so that you can find out. Next, we're going to go into the student org policies. So first, we're going to talk about the film policy. So in order for you to show any movie on any campus, you need to make sure that you're first submitting an Eagle Space Reservation System request. Once your space reservation has been approved, you must comply with all copyright regulations. So that will include obtaining the film rights prior to showing the film, even if you're using your own streaming device, such as a Roku or Fire Stick, or if you have your own physical copy of the movie. So that's if you have a DVD at home. You still need to make sure that you get those copyrights. Student organizations cannot charge or solicit donations for showing films. However, if you would like to sell snacks such as popcorn or you want to have some type of candy, then you're able to do that. However, you'll need to do that more so as a fundraiser, and you'll need to make sure that you're going through the fundraiser policy and form. Make sure that you submit that at least 2 weeks prior to your event so that it can be approved appropriately. We also have attached a link to the Swank Motion Pictures if you want to look at that for copyrights. Just making sure that you know that movies can range anywhere from about $500 to about $1,500, just depending on how new the movie is or how popular it could be at that time. So next, we want to talk about the university trademark guidelines. So, the Office of Trademark and Licensing regulates the use of the university's name and all identifying marks, both on and off campus, to ensure the protection of the university's excellent reputation and maintain high standards of use. Only campus departments and student organizations that are officially recognized by and are a part of the university are allowed to use Georgia Southern logos, symbols, and trademarks in conjunction with their names. If your student organization is looking to purchase products with the Georgia Southern logo, then the Georgia Southern products can be made only by licenses who are under the contract by Collegiate Licensing Company, and that is the university's licensing agency. If you need a little bit more information on the university trademark guidelines, then we do have a link attached for you as well. So, student org advertisement policies. All advertisements must include your name, date, time, campus, and location of the event. If you are having this event on multiple campuses, then you're able to put all of that information on that one flyer. Student organization that is sponsoring the event, if you're collaborating with another organization, please make sure, or a campus department, please make sure that you also include them in the flyer. And then finally, you want to make sure that you're including your contact information in case of any questions or emergencies. It's highly recommended that advertisement not include profanity, obscenities, or any suggestive language or images, weapons, alcohol, drugs, or related material, nudity, and also glitter is prohibited. Glitter is really hard to get up, so you want to make sure that you're not using that. There are a few different types of advertisement, and so just kind of knowing what those different ways that you can advertise are, those have been included. So you can do things such as sheet signs, banners, flyers and handbills, chalking, which we'll go into a little bit more of that, stickers, posters, digital signage, Eagle Engage, campus calendar, and then the Office of Student Activities biweekly newsletter, which is called the Opportunities for Involvement newsletter. So you'll submit whatever it is that you need that should be placed inside the newsletter, and it'll be an ad size. So next we want to go into the campus specific advertisement policies. So we're going to talk about both the Armstrong and the Statesboro campus advertisement policies. First, we're going to start with the Armstrong campus advertisement policies. So flyers, handbills, and stickers should not be placed on cars, light poles, benches, or trees. Flyers can be placed on community boards on campus, but please make sure that you get approval from the building admin before posting anything. And so that means there should always be someone inside of the building that is monitoring, that has approval of you being able to bring something to post on the bulletin board. Please be respectful of other flyers being placed on the bulletin. So do not take anything down that's already placed up. If it's outdated, you may remove it. But don't take something down just because you're like, hey, this event is happening today. There could be a student that has not seen it yet. So just make sure that you leave it up. If you need to go take it down the next day, then that's fine. The student union, all flyers will need to be approved by the union staff on the Armstrong campus. And so you need to make sure that you get approval from them prior to placing anything on the bulletin boards, even if you see that there are some that are empty. All flyers must say Georgia Southern University somewhere on there, and they can only be left up for 2 weeks before needing to be removed. The science building will need to visit the dean's office to get prior approval for posting on the bulletin boards as well. The Armstrong campus advertisement policies include the digital signage, which you can also submit a digital signage request. However, you'll need to make sure that you're sending that to tsmith at georgiasouthern.edu. Requests must be submitted at least 2 business days in advance of the date that you would like them posted. Digital ads may run for no more than 14 consecutive days, however. And so if you're needing them to run longer than that, then just make sure that you resubmit that request to tsmith at georgiasouthern.edu. And then you want to know where you can hang your sheet signs on the Armstrong campus. You'll need to make sure that you deliver them to the student union office to be approved and hung up, but again, no longer than 2 weeks. So if you need it hung up longer than that, then make sure that you're reaching out to the Armstrong team at arm@georgiasouthern.edu. So the Statesboro campus advertisement policies. Flyers, handbills, and stickers should not be placed on cars, lights, benches, or trees. And so that's the same as the Armstrong campus. Flyers can be placed on community boards on campus, but again, you need to make sure that you're getting that building approval first. And so making sure that you're going to the building admin so that you can get that approval. And also, please make sure that you're being respectful of other student organizations and the flyers that have been placed on those bulletin boards, making sure that you're not covering up their flyers and making sure that you're not taking down anything that is still being shown or active. Chalking is prohibited at the rotunda on any brick surfaces on the academic building and at the rotunda. Just making sure that if you are chalking, then within 24 hours of your event, you are going to remove that chalking. It's only going to take a little bit of water and soap. So just making sure you throw a little bit of that on the ground and you get that up as soon as possible. Please do not try to wait on it to rain because it's not guaranteed that it's going to rain every single day to be able to wash it up. So making sure that you're just going out there when you have some time, at least 24 hours after the event, and getting it up. And then if you would like to hang sheet signs on the Statesboro campus, then you can hang them on Forest Drive, and that's going to be next to the Old Health Services area. And then also you can use the Russell Union entrance roadway, which is going to be directly behind Chandler and Fair Road. And so if you come in right behind Domino's, and then also Chandler Road, that's going to be the Centennial area, and that's right across from Zaxby's. You're also able to use the Russell Union Rotunda, but just make sure that you have a reserved tabling event if you're wanting to. So making sure that you're making that reservation on Eagle Space reservation system. But then if you need like some string or a step stool, just make sure that you reach out to the Russell Union team and someone can provide one for you. And so next we're going to talk about digital signage. This digital signage is a little bit different because you can find this request on the website. So if you go to the main Georgia Southern website and you go to the union staff page or the union page, you're able to find this digital signage request form. If you're on the Statesboro campus, this is the request form that you need to use if you would like to instead advertise on the Statesboro campus. So digital signage essentially is just making sure that your advertisement is being shown on those TV screens across campus. The request must be submitted again at least 2 business days in advance of the date that you would like them posted. It's best if you can have them in a little bit earlier because you can schedule when you would like for them to run, making sure that those ads are not running any longer than 14 consecutive days. And the Russell Union, flyers can be placed on these boards but must be approved and hung by information desk assistants in the Russell Union or the Williams Center. Again, you must submit the flyer and banner form, and you have to have that. So please have that with you if you have not already submitted that. And then you can turn that in to the info desk at the Russell Union. They will make sure that your event is approved and everything is good to go before the event is supposed to happen. If you have questions or concerns, again, you can always reach out to the union team and they can answer those questions, or you can contact us at the Office of Student Activities directly. So the solicitation policy. So the solicitation policy and inviting vendors on campus includes that student organizations are not permitted to bring a vendor to campus and allow them to sell items to students. This includes pop-up shops, food trucks, farmers markets, and also they're not able to make any space reservations or requests for off-campus organizations to host events or table. Solicitation is defined as any undertaking of a group which attempts to promote the sale or use of a particular product or service. So what this means is if you want to have a vendor come onto campus, have them instead come to our Borough Browse or our Savannah Browse event, and therefore they're able to have an opportunity to showcase what their business is about on campus as the semester gets started. So we typically host that event at the very beginning of the semester. So if you have any friends or you know anyone local that might be interested in coming onto campus as a vendor, then just let them know that we do have opportunities specifically for them. However, sponsor prohibited sponsorship activities that are included but not that are not limited to the solicitation of an event include substantially depending on an off-campus person or business, including an organization for planning, staffing, or management of that event. And so that would be something such as an apartment complex that's working with a student organization to come onto campus to solicit. So to ask students to want to live in their apartment complex, reserving a room or space for the use of an off-campus person, business, or organization. So that's a student organization that's possibly reserving a room over on the Armstrong campus in the Student Union Ballroom for Savannah business to meet in. And then operating for the benefit of an off-campus person, business, or organization, except for the solicitation of charitable contributions. So having an event to fundraise for a business outside of the university. Please know that if you are wanting to have a business come onto campus, that only campus departments are able to invite vendors to campus to sell items. And so what we're going to talk about next is the food truck policy. And so this is about if you are working or collaborating with a campus department to invite that food truck onto campus. So student organizations are not allowed to bring food trucks or mobile vendors to campus. So if you want to, as a student organization, bring a food truck to campus or a mobile vendor, then you'll need to make sure that you have your event sponsored by an on-campus department. And then that department would need to make sure that they follow the proper protocol and approval process to make sure that the food truck is approved to be able to come onto campus. So if you want to have a food truck come onto campus, if you're working with a department, then we do have that link attached for you on this module so that you're able to go to that food truck policy quickly. And if you do want someone to come onto campus, please make sure that they fill out that information as soon as possible and that you coordinate with the campus department as soon as possible because sometimes this form could take a little bit of time to complete. Next, we're going to go into risk management. So the goal of risk management is to ensure student organizations are planning and hosting events where everyone involved has a safe and fun experience. So the risk management is the process of avoiding and reducing potential and perceived risk involved in your activities. So it's best to always have an emergency response plan for your organization, for your functions, and your events. If you've never seen our resource page or you need a few resources which include risk management, then that has been attached to this module as well. Some of the types and risks that are included in risk management are your physical, facilities, financial, emotional, and reputational risk. So your physical is simply if someone falls and they hurt themselves. The facilities, if you break something that, for like a table, or you get paint on the table, that could be a risk management because you could possibly have to pay for that. Financial, so the company that you're using goes out of business. Typically, we wouldn't expect for something like this to happen with Amazon. However, it's possible that it can happen with a local business. Emotional, so someone is upset that they didn't get chosen for an activity or they feel that they were left out. That could be a risk management issue. So if you have an event and your event is very active, is very involved, very hands-on, but you have that one person that they're feeling left out, that could be a risk management because it could possibly next help hurt your reputation. So also if you have a member that's acting out at your event or they're not acting accordingly or what they're representing or presenting to outside people that are not in your organization could possibly hurt your reputation for the organization. And you just don't want that. And so, what we have for you all is a risk management matrix. And so, the form has been provided as an educational tool to help student leaders as they are developing a process for identifying and discussing those potential risk issues. These forms are intended to be in use as part of for a part of a larger event planning discussion on risk management. They're not designed to take the place of any careful reviewing of applicable rules, policies, and laws, or having a discussion with your advisor or any of our staff members within the Office of Student Activities. So, completing this form does not imply approval or authorization of your event. However, it's good to have, it's good to know, and it's good for you to have this worksheet in the bottom of your saved folder just so that you can make sure that you have everything in order as you are working through your events as far as what those risks might be involved. Next, for the instructions on how you want to use this matrix, you'll list all aspects of your event on that matrix, and then you'll identify those risks that are associated with each activity. So just making sure that you're as broad as possible when it comes to those risks, and then also just thinking of what the worst case scenario is, what could happen, what has possibly happened, and just factoring those things in. You want to use the matrix to determine the level of obvious risk associated with each activity before applying any risk management strategies. And then just brainstorming on some of those methods to manage the identified risk. And then you want to find strategies that can be applied to reduce the severity of the risk and the probability that something could go wrong. And so the use of the matrix is to reassess the activities now that you've applied them to the risk management strategies. And then you'll determine if you've reached an acceptable level of risk by applying risk management strategies. And then you want to consider modifying or eliminating activities that haven't been reasonable in the past, and then those risks that have been associated with them. And then just kind of put in the back of your mind and considering how the activity relates to the mission and the purpose of your specific organization. Throughout this process, think about why it's important to you in your organization. We encourage you to always consider the well-being and safety of everyone involved in your events and activities. So creating this is something great to have in the back of your org and have on hand. And so these are just a few definitions on what risk about the risk management matrix. E standing for extremely high. As far as the risk, H is a high risk, M is a moderate risk, and then L is a low risk. And so you want to use this chart as a guideline when determining the risk of the activities and the events that your organization hosts. So if it's extremely high risk, these are going to be activities that are completely unacceptable. You really don't want to have them, especially not on a college campus. They could be catastrophic, they could be critical, they could hurt someone. So just tailor it back, bring it all the way back. Your high risk management includes activities in this category that are serious risks that are likely to occur. Just kind of being proactive on some of these things, thinking about strategies, and thinking about what needs to happen. So planning in advance, thinking about ways that you can consider ways to modify or eliminate unacceptable risk. And then the moderate risk. Those are going to be some activities that have a little bit more of low risk. They're unlikely to occur. That doesn't mean that they can't, but they're just a little bit more unlikely to occur. So the organization should always think about what can be done to manage the risk to prevent any negative outcomes. And then finally, you have your low risk. Your low risk is very minimum. It's unlikely to occur. It's possibly not going to occur. It's possibly never going to happen. but just being mindful and thinking about some of those things so you can always proceed with these activities as planned. And then a little bit more about this matrix. So the type of risk, again, we've talked about what those are. The event activities, and so you're wanting to make sure that you're listing out all aspects of your event, whether those are risky or not risky. An example from that would be like if you're blending smoothies for an event, so just making sure that you're not putting your hand all in the blender, getting cuts on your hands, getting germs everywhere. And then some of those possible risks. So thinking through what could go wrong in those worst case scenarios. So such things as like tripping over a wire, cutting your hand. The level of that risk, identifying the risk associated with this event. And then we're gonna have a page on the next slide, which is gonna kind of go into that a little bit. Your low or medium risk is associated with that area. Looking into your risk management plan, so considering what your organization could do to manage that risk. And so if you do have something such as wires, things that are going everywhere, then just kind of having some training on those things, making sure that everyone is safe, making sure that everyone understands how to be safe and how to safely clean the blender and how to operate it if they don't already know. Then just looking at the values. So indicating why it's important to you and your organization. We don't want members to get hurt. We want them to promote healthy living. We want them to do things safely. So it's best to just kind of go through a little bit of that training. And then a little bit of this again is just how you will use that risk assessment matrix. And so it's based on the categories. So catastrophic, critical, marginal, and negligible, sorry. And then the probability that something will go wrong. So if it's frequent, if it's likely, if it's occasionally, seldom, or unlikely. And again, unlikely means it's probably not going to happen. Seldom means it's happened before, but you know the risks that are involved, so you try not to make that happen again. Occasionally, that means it's happening pretty often. Likely, you kind of already know. And frequent means it's happening all the time. Never get to something that is frequent, something that is bad, something that is continuously happening. We want to stay more so in that unlikely category. So just making sure that you're keeping your risk management as low as possible. And then an example of that is our pancake breakfast, and then a student burning their hand. And so just kind of looking at some of those probabilities and some of those things that could possibly go wrong. If someone has cut their hand, if they have minor cuts, if they have some damage, and then if there has been a little bit of financial loss in that. So have they bled on the table? And just kind of looking a little bit more into some of those things. You want to make sure that you're planning for an emergency. So while student organizations should be planning their activities and events in such a way as to avert crisis, it's highly important to be proactive while you're planning to make sure that you're responding in the event that something should hurt, if something should occur. Intentional development of a crisis response plan prior to an event or activity will empower the organization to effectively respond. Educating members prior to a crisis is highly critical, so making sure all organization members they know who is in charge, what the preparation plan is, what happens in case in an event, making sure your team knows what's happening, what should happen, and what's going to be in place. So next, we're going to talk about the student org conduct. And so student organizations are collectively responsible for any actions committed by their members that serve to reflect upon the organization as a whole or upon the university. So student organizations are expected to abide by the student org handbook, again, which is directly tied to the Office of Student Activities and the Student Conduct Code. And so again, that's going to come directly from the university. Failure to comply with policies and procedures in the student org handbook and the student code of conduct can result in disciplinary action for your organization. Rights of student organizations on the Georgia Southern University charged with a violation of the student code of conduct can be found in the student org handbook section 2.2. The conduct process for registered student organizations can also be found in the student org handbook section 2.5. The Office of Student Activities will make sure that we meet with student organization presidents regarding incidents that might violate the student org handbook, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. If deemed necessary, the Office of Student Activities can refer incidents to the Office of Student Conduct or the Office of Equal Opportunity in Title IX. So next, we want to talk about org conduct. So this is going to be your three-strike policy. So your first strike is going to be the student organization will receive a written warning. Additional sanctions could be assigned. That's not saying that they will be, but they could be. Your second strike is going to be your student organization will be put on probation by the Office of Student Activities for 1 semester. And please note that we do keep record of these things. And then your third strike is going to be the student organization will be frozen for 1 academic year. And so that will be that semester to semester. And so if that happens in 2026, then it will stretch out until 2027. Again, strikes will remain on a student organization's record for up to 2 years, otherwise deemed by the Office of Student Activities. Examples of strikes include, but are not limited to, unresolved debts with the university, misuse of space, display of inappropriate material on advertisement, or advertisement being displayed in incorrect locations. So if you're not getting approval before putting things up. So next, I want to go into our Wings Incentive Program. So, what is the Wings Incentive Program? In case you've never heard of it, or you're like, hey, I want to make sure that I am staying on track with this. The Wings Incentive Program was established to recognize those organizations who make it a priority to improve themselves as a whole and experience each of their and the experience of each of their members. The Wings Incentive Program aims to provide opportunities for organizations to earn points for meaningful and productive experiences. So this program is going to run from April 1st, 2026 to March 31st, 2027. So we are currently in that annual period. So some of the ways that you all can make sure that you're earning some of those wings points will include attending a soul workshop series. We do know that they have all ended for the semester, but they will start back in the fall. Participating in the student org fair, so that is having a table with at least 2 people at that table. Completing your renewals by that priority deadline. That deadline has already been posted onto our website. So if you want to take a look at that, then just making sure that you're completing your renewals. And then we're going to have so many more programs and resources and availabilities and Wings Incentive programs and opportunities that you all will be able to come to. We are still creating some of that list, but everything will be updated hopefully by June, July. And so, in case you're wanting to kind of go ahead and take a look at some of those things before you come back in August, then we'll make sure that we have those things available to you. But you can also click the link that is attached to this module, and it'll take you straight to our website to see those opportunities. So a quick update about the Wings Incentive status for the 2026-2027 year. All organizations on the Statesboro and the Armstrong campus are going to need 30 points by March 31st, 2027 to be eligible to renew their organization for the next academic year. Previously, it was about 10 points less than that, but just making sure that the Statesboro and the Armstrong campus are both aligned, since we are offering opportunities on both campuses that are very similar if they are not the same program. We want to make sure that we're providing our organizations with the opportunity to both reach the same status. So we're going to start by reaching the bronze status. So that bronze status is going to be 31 to 45 points. The silver status is going to be 46 to 60 points. The gold status 61 to 84 points, and the platinum status 85 points or more. But we also want to make sure that our advisors know that there are opportunities for you out there as well. And so as a student org advisor, you all can help your student org leaders by earning wing points by attending some of the events that we host throughout the year. So your wings incentive points are going to be the same amount of time. They're just considered advisor incentive points. And so they're going to be April 1st, 2026 till March 31st, 2027 as well. Some of those events that you all are able to attend are going to be those Soul Series workshops, your advisor workshops, and then your student org advisor roundtables. You're also able to have a one-on-one consultation with your designated Office of Student Activities Alpha Listing Pro Office of Student Activities Alpha Listing Processor. And so we want to make sure that you know who your alpha listing processors are if you do not know them already. We have that link also attached for you so that you can quickly go to the website and you can have that one-on-one conversation with that processor. If you also want to look at a full list of our opportunities, then we also have that attached to this module as well, just to keep you informed. And if you want more information on the organization policies and expectations, please make sure that you view our student org handbook. It has been attached to this module as well, just for quicker view and to just be a little bit more effective on making sure that you know what the policies are. So what you're going to make sure that you're doing next is you're going to make sure that you click that here button so that you can go ahead and complete module 2. So you have already completed module 1. Thank you. Thank you for attending the office. But we also want to make sure that our advisors know that there are opportunities for you out there as well. And so, as a student org advisor, you all can help your student org leaders by earning wing points by attending some of the events that we host throughout the year. So, your wings incentive points are going to be the same amount of time, they're just considered advisor incentive points. And so, they're going to be April 1st, 2020.